50 English expressions. Number 1. Rough day. I will say I'm on the verge of quitting my job. Rough day, the end goes up. It is a yes no question. I will say means yes. Yes, it is. Is it a rough day? Yes, it is. I'm on the verge of quitting my job. I'm I'm on the verge of quitting my job. Rough day means a very difficult and unpleasant day. Rough, GH sounds F, and then you can use tough, TOUGH. Rough day means a very difficult and unpleasant day. Another similar expression is replying, that's rough. When someone tells you about difficulties, obstacles, and things that are hard to endure. Now, on the verge of verb ing, so of is preposition. After preposition, you need to use noun or gerund. So this is gerund, and very close to taking some action. In this case, the man is so frustrated with his job that he's very close to quitting. Quit. It sounds quit, but when you put ing, you need add an extra t and quitting, and then this t flaps. Quitting. Quit means leave one's job. Rough day. I will say I'm on the verge of quitting my job. I will say rough day. Is it a rough day? I will say yes, it is. I'm on the verge of quitting my job. You're kidding. I thought this was your dream job. I'm dead serious. You're kidding. You're not serious, are you? Are you joking me? I thought this was your dream job, the job you love so much. I'm dead serious. I'm really serious. You're kidding. You're joking. You're not serious. We often say this in response to something that is so surprising or shocking that we wonder if it is really true. You're kidding me. Are you joking? I thought this was your dream job. I'm dead serious. How come? Don't get me wrong. I love the field, but my boss is hands down the worst person I've ever worked for. How come? It's an informal way to say why. Why? Don't get me wrong. Don't misunderstand me. I love the field. I love the job. I love what I do, but my boss is really, hands down, the worst person I've ever worked for. Hands down, definitely, really. The worst person so this sounds I've. As you know, this is contraction of I have. I've ever worked for. So this T sound worked for. Don't get me wrong, I love the field, but my boss is hands down the worst person I've ever worked for. How come is an informal way to say why. How come? How come you like it? So it's the way to ask a question, why do you like it? Why do you like it? So how come and why they mean the same, but when you use how come, you use subject and verb. When you use why, auxiliary and subject and verb. That's the difference. How come is an informal way to say why. Don't get me wrong means don't misunderstand me. Don't get me wrong. Don't misunderstand me. Don't get me wrong, I don't hate you. I just don't have feeling for you. Something like that. We often say this informal expression when we are talking about something that could give the wrong impression and we want to clarify things. Don't get me wrong. I love the field. Don't get me wrong. I love my job. But the reason I'm about to leave my job is my boss. My boss is hands down. So hands down means surely, definitely, unquestionably, without a doubt. Hands down. Don't get me wrong, I love the field, but my boss is hands down the worst person I've ever worked for. How come? Don't get me wrong, I love the field, but my boss is hands down the worst person. The worst person. Worst person. Bad. Worse. And then worst. He's the worst person I've ever worked for. How come? Don't get me wrong, I love the field, but my boss is hands down the worst person I've ever worked for.